a lot of us do not have homes. Mm-hmm. Do not have homes because the original homes and the elders that were within those communities a lot of them actually died. Mm-hmm. There were people who were raised in the IDP camps. Mm-hmm. And even during the festive seasons, people are lucky enough to go to their homes during the festive seasons, but we couldn't do that. Mm-hmm. We couldn't just travel because you were captured along the journey, right? So a lot of culture was lost, but a lot of individual people were lost. So we generally had no sense of belonging from there. Mm-hmm.
Hi guys, welcome to Kenganda. My name is Johnny Tamai and this is the Repart podcast where we discuss issues affecting Africans on the continent, Africans in the diaspora, African Americans, and the Caribbeans. I'll let my co-hosts introduce themselves.
O'Shea Duke Jackson, Sacramento, California.
Yes.
Achiro Pamela Tolliver,
yes.
Founder of Nilotic Connection and Director of Northfly Innovations.
Okay. Perfect. Right. We're so happy to have you here. Thank you for honoring our invite.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, I'll let O'Shea take this.
So I met you just a few days ago.
Yeah.
Over, we won't name the location, but we were mutual friend. Shout out to you, Eric. And he had been telling me about an event that you're about to have in March the 4th. And your company is called Nilotic Connection?
Nilotic Connection.
Okay. For me as an American, a Black American, I've heard of like the Dinka tribe. People are very tall, Luos. So I know all of these people are under the class of the Nilots, right?
Yes.
But you're not just in Uganda. You're in many different countries.
That's true.
Where are you? Where are the Nilotic people at in Africa?
In Africa, we have them in Uganda. Mm-hmm. We have in Kenya. Mm-hmm. We have Tanzania, Ethiopia. Mm-hmm. We have South Sudan. Mm-hmm. And we have a couple of them in Somalia too. Mm-hmm. So there is also a relation where we are tracing that, but there is a couple of them that are in West Africa.
West Africa?
Yes, in West Africa. So we still need to get the root of that. And then we do have them in Congo.
Congo?
Yeah, in Congo. Okay. You actually find that a lot of one of the tribes from the Nilotic group, the Alurs, a lot of them are in Congo.
Wow.
Yeah, compared to Uganda.
Okay.
Yeah.
In your history, I remember looking at the Karaka dance, the Choli people. It's so rich. Yes. So when I had a chance to finally meet you, I didn't know who was behind the Nilotic Connection. But your story is very interesting before we get into the history of who you are, but it's very interesting because you're here in the Central, and you wanted to start the Nilotic Connection for a special reason. Why is that?
If I could take it back, where I come from is Nebi. That's my original place. But my mom is she was raised in Gulu.
Okay.
I was born in a time that the war was actually getting a little bit intense. The war.
Can you, for those people who don't know that war, what time frame was it?
So this was started in 1987.
Right after Museveni came to power. It was still going. It was a power struggle even before then.
Yeah.
But that war kept on going.
It kept on going. It kept on going because the ideas that these people had were they were getting rid of the government because they didn't agree with it. Mm-hmm.
And so Obote's government was running the country at the time, which is from the north.
Exactly. So they wanted to take that out.
Okay.
So you had the Alice Lakwena that started it and they had a whole ass march that they were doing to the capital to try and take over the government.
Yes.
And the story for it is crazy because she did the shea butter is what the guys were smearing to protect themselves.
Okay.
From the bullets and everything, that's the resistance that was coming towards them. And then from there you had Joseph Kony that came through and brought in all this religious belief towards it, and so that's why it's called the Lord's Resistance movement. Yeah? So all that coupled up, and a lot of people couldn't stay in that environment.
Okay.
So that's how ended up coming to settle in the central.
So let me talk about this because like me as an African American, obviously we were taken from, you know, West Africa, our ancestors, and then we were brought to America, and then obviously just like Jamaicans. So a new culture was there, but the original culture was lost. Mm-hmm. And in talking to you with the Nilotic connection, we've been removed for like 400 years, something like that or more. But in just almost 20 years, if it seems like a lot of people from the Nilotic origin in Uganda, a lot of the culture was lost in just that time frame, which is one of the reasons why you have the Nilotic connection bringing these people together. Mm-hmm. You have an event on March 4th. But how much culture has been lost from the Nilotic community in Uganda in that frame of time?
So if you look at the period that we had from about 1987 to right now, that's about 37 years. Okay, that's a lot of time, and that's a lot of millennials that are within that are within that group, because a lot of the cultural celebrations are about community. So you look at the Lakaraka dance; it's very rich with culture because it's a courtship dance, right? So that's how people were able to get their marriage partners and allow the community to accept them. Actually, show the community that this is what we're doing.
Yes,
right. But because of the war that was happening, that couldn't happen. These guys had to. They would come during celebrations, and that's how they would capture people so that they could join them.
Oh, so the guerrilla fighters, would steal these people during these cultural celebrations.
The celebrations, so there was no way for that to happen. So, and that was something that was suppressed a lot. You know, we pride ourselves on oral education. And that's how our grandparents are supposed to share the information about how the cultures are run, how the clans are supposed to be operating and things like that. But that's not something that could happen within that time. So all that was stopped, and we have a generation of people that were born from about 1987 that don't have that understanding of where they come from, how they can be able to relate to people. Besides everything else, there's the displacement that happened. There is a village in between Soroti that has a lot of women because they had to escape during that time and settle in there and leave their husbands to fight and protect their homes. So right now, there are no men in the village. So they keep telling people, come and settle in the village. And they can't go back because they don't know where they're supposed to settle in.
The origin.
They have no origin to it.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of millennials that are out of it. And these are the millennials that are having children. So if we do not have something that celebrates or that recognizes that culture, then we'll definitely have it lost.
Like you told me they can't even speak. People can speak Luganda from the north, but cannot speak the languages.
They cannot speak it. Actually, one of the reasons as to why I also started the Nilotic connection is because my little sis is within that category. So she asked me, so how am I supposed to learn the language? You know, when you're in school, you're actually being punished for speaking Luganda.
Yes, the local language.
Which is very absurd.
Wait, who's being punished for speaking Luganda?
Students.
Because you're not supposed
to speak the local language. You're supposed to speak English only.
Really?
All Ugandan schools.
So you're punished for doing that.
Yeah.
So we really there is no other place other than home that you're able to connect within that. But also there's just a general stereotype about people from the northern part of the country. Because of the gruesomeness that, if you've seen anything about the LRA war, it was so bad. It was so bad. They were cutting off people's ears. They were cutting off people's lips. And,
child soldiers.
It was so terrible. Raping women, so bad. And
can I just want to interrupt? I don't want to be offensive, but I heard after meeting you and hearing what you had to say, and I asked some others, and they said that a lot of people from the north, those in the central, sometimes refer to them as being savages.
Unfortunately,
I didn't say it, but that's what I was told it could be.
Unfortunately, that's
Was
very
it true?
That's very true. People do that, and that's one of the reasons as to why you'll find someone is reserved towards expressing themselves as someone who is a Nilot, because the first thing you're going to tell me is, why you so rough? Why you so rude? Why you so this? And unknowingly, that actually is sort of a trigger to what they were doing, because this Joseph Kony wasn't a foreigner. He was one of them. He was one of the guys from the home. And
he was also Nilotic.
Yes, he is.
Yeah, he was.
Okay. Or he is. He could still be.
He's even still around.
Is he still alive?
He is still alive. There's a bounty on him, a lot of money, by the way, that's on him. So we have all that's happening within the stereotypes. So people don't want to accept themselves. So that's why you find some people actually change their skin color just because they don't feel like, because a lot of us are dark.
Yeah.
A lot of us are
Majority.
dark, but you'll find them trying as much as possible to change their skin tone just to be able
the
to
best
fit
skin tones, because you guys don't have like acne issues.
And a lot of the models, my goodness,
Yeah,
but
from
those
the north.
Luo women, you're Luo too, so.
Yeah. Now, speaking of stereotypes, I went to a school in the West, and I can understand the stereotypes because we also had some kids from the North, and we would see how they would be treated, and then making it seem like, oh, these are like, they're not even part of us, like they're from another planet or something like that. So they used to be isolated, and then I would say that they would just come together and team up and be friends themselves. And then Dare says something about one of them. All of them are coming for you. Yeah, because they would team up and then they form this strong connection, and then it's like you can't just get through it. But speaking of stereotypes, what other stereotypes can you tell us? Because I know you guys there's some people who were displaced and they came to the Central. And let's just say, like, Central people, the tribe in the Central doesn't treat people from the North really well. And that's just the truth,
It's not one tribe that comes from the northern part of the country, right? So if I tell you I'm from northern Uganda, I'm not automatically an Acholi.
Or from Gulu.
I'm not just straight up
Travel
from Gulu.
people. Yeah.
Just the way if I'm out of the country and I tell you I'm a Ugandan, you'll think that, okay, this is a Muganda. So you start to speak to me in Luganda, and that's not it. So there are a lot more tribes that come in from northern Uganda. And besides that, we may have a close relation in our cultures, in our languages, but we have there's so many differences that are between us.
Yeah.
Much as there are similarities, there are lots of differences. So if I tell you that I'm from the North, you don't straight up tell me I'm a Mucholi. And that alone also, just the Mucholi bit of it is not a cool thing to be able to share with or to call someone, right? We have that. We have just bits about the food,
I love the food from the North.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, the food is
What
good.
do you say that bit about the food? Like, do you think people don't want to try food from the North? It's amazing.
People don't want to. I think also it's when people don't understand something, it's very hard for them to accept it. So with Nilotic's connection, our duty is also to really expose that. To educate people on a variety of food, on a variety of culture that is out there, so that they cannot at least they have an understanding towards it. People are intermarrying. There are lots of intermarriages that are happening. So it doesn't mean that you do not respect the other person's culture just because there is no space for expression, but then give them at least the benefit of doubt and allow their culture to come into yours, to embrace it. Because in terms of food, we have almost, I would say, some of the healthiest food that is out there. Instead of getting onto what do they call it, the keto diet?
Yeah.
Instead of getting onto that, you could try out, it's so rich. Have you tried Odi?
I'm going to try it.
It's amazing.
We're going to the event, so we're going to try it.
It's amazing. Now, you spoke about your little sister. Shout out to her if she's watching this. You spoke about her not knowing the language. Do you know the language?
I don't know. I don't know the language.
And just to educate the people, what language is that?
It's a lore. It's a lore from Nebi. We are the guys that stayed. The descendants of Jipir. So there's Jipir and Labong. So for us, we stayed in the sons and daughters of Jipir, and the Labongs are the Cholis. They went and settled within Gulu, and then that's how the rest of them split up into the Langis and then the Lugbers and the rest of the cultures that are there.
Yeah, the Kangana team has actually been to Nebi. We've been to Nebi. We're doing a farm there. It's such a small town.
It's really
We
small.
literally just had one roundabout and we're out.
Yeah, it's small.
Just that. But that's really nice. Can you tell the people hi in the language? Just yeah. If you don't,
Okay,
mind.
okay, I do. hope I do not butcher it in any kind of way.
Please.
For your matek, and Gilwonga Pamela, I Nebi, I Clad Mega Gilwongu Nyapaquero.
Yeah. What's our reply?
Oh, then no, I was just introducing where
Oh,
I'm from.
you know, I do know Afoyo because is it like thank you?
No, Afoyo is thank you.
Because that's all I did when I was
Afoyo is
in that
thank
north. Afoyo. And then someone told me, no, that's not a greeting. It's just thank you. But I was like,
there are several greetings, but one of them you could tell someone Nedi, and then they will tell you Nedi pay.
Nedi.
So let me ask you a question. Remember we had the Mr. Idiot episode, and there was a young lady from the north. Instantly, they had a connection. She said something, and he said something back. I don't know what it was, but they could communicate.
Yeah.
And whatever, he's like, oh, where are you from, the north? And she said something back. He replied.
Where are you from?
From northern Uganda.
Ooh, Itianini.
Atima Bay.
Okay, I'm from South Sudan.
Oh, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
So my question is, because I saw on your Instagram page, there was a video of the Nilotic connections. I don't know if they're promoting your video, but the guy was in Kisumu. Do you remember what I'm talking about?
Oh, yes. That's Uncle Mitch.
So Kenyan, and Luos is very big in Kenya, obviously. Third biggest, they're a power base there.
Yeah.
So can you communicate, people from the north here, is it possible for them to communicate with those in Kenya, in Luo?
Yeah, it definitely is. There are bits of the dialect that are not very relatable, but then when they say something, you could understand. It's just that when an Alur speaks, and actually will be able to understand. It's just that there is a tone and an aggressiveness that the Acholis have when they speak, and then there is a calmness that the Alurs have, and then the Langis. It's all different, but when they speak, you can be able to understand.
What about those in South Sudan, like somebody like Dinka? This different, right?
Okay, that's different. But they also Acholis in South Sudan.
Yeah. Okay, Acholis. Can they? Is it the same?
It's the same. It's quite the same.
Okay, so you are you more closer to those in South Sudan or are those in Kenya?
South Sudan.
Because it's closer.
It's closer than the Luos in Kenya.
So let me ask you a question, because I know what's happening with those from the north since the 80s. They've been all over Uganda. Then South Sudan actually had, in the last 15 years, 20 years, their civil war where you have a lot of South Sudanese coming to Uganda.
Yeah.
So because Uganda actually is like what, the second or third biggest place for refugees in the world.
I think we're the second.
It's
Yeah.
second.
We're the second.
So now you have the South Sudanese community is coming over, and then you have these people from the Nilotic community moving into the central. So how do these people interact with the South Sudanese community in general? I mean, because I'm thinking, how does that relationship work as far as them being from different places?
I think it's because, say Ugandans are very welcoming. I think we have settled quite well with them. You find in Arua, there are lots of people from South Sudan.
Yes.
And they have settled in. They have homes, they have businesses that they're running within there. So, they join you in your celebration. Trust me, when you get an opportunity to, please listen to Yoleng by Romeo Dong. It's one of those songs that they play, and you will find every Nilot within that space, you'll be able to recognize them. Because that's the moment they're able to at least understand that this is our moment, this is our song. Let's get out there, let's dance to it. Because its meaning alone is the road is clear. So every time they play it, it kind of reminds us where we come from and God's glory and the grace that we have been able to have.
Can I ask another question? Because but I know that you're trying to bring this packaging of, and I've seen some of I've never been to one, but I've seen it on Instagram. It seems to be nice. There's a lot of culture there, a lot of vendors there. You have a lot of people in this community here. And I know from just having this channel, when you're trying to do things for Black people, hello, Negroes cannot appreciate because we're going to be real, okay? With you trying to provide this particular service to your community, what is the difficulty of trying to get people to participate in something that brings them pride and brings them joy. I know a lot of times problems come within the own group when you're trying to do this. And so how does it feel, or what problems do you face trying to promote this product and service you have to your own people?
My greatest problem within this is just getting people to come together. That is the greatest thing that
I already knew it.
we need to be
Black
able
people,
to
Jesus have mercy.
we need to be able to adjust to that, because it's really hard. And this is also one, we want to connect people. But then still you have people that will be very tribalistic.
Within the Nilotic community?
Within the Nilotic
Can you give me an example?
So currently, right, we have a lot of what we put out. We have people complain that it has a lot of acholis in that. But it's not because we just want the acholis to be the only representation. It's because the acholis are the most vocal and they have accepted their culture so much. So when you tell them that it's their celebration, they will come in huge numbers to celebrate that. And listen, it's not because the person that is doing it is an acholi, I'm an allure. But the majority of people that are coming in are the acholis. So they will want their music to be played. But we try as much as possible to
balance
have
it out.
a balance within that. You have people complain that we are not seeing certain aspects of the culture. Well, we're getting there. It's a process. We come in slowly. Besides that, we don't have the information about that culture.
And do people ask for free?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. All the time.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, I know there are days you want to quit and give up and say, what keeps you continuing with the project, even if things look dim, it doesn't look like it's going to be the best? What keeps you going to keep this community going? Because it's a great community. I mean, it's like over almost 8 or 9 million Nilolites in East Africa, something like that, or more.
Yeah.
What keeps you building this connection?
So for me, it's very personal. It's very personal in so many reasons. But I was in Bishop Cipriano Chiangere. I don't know if you know it. It's in Luzera.
Yeah, I don't know.
It was ideally supposed to be a school that was in Gulu, but they couldn't put it there because it was during the war. So once they put it in the central, a lot of people from that side were brought to study at Bishop Cipriano Chiangere. Now, we had a cultural day, a cultural celebration, and within that day, there was the Lakaraka dance that they did. So once they started performing it, once the students started performing it, somehow all the students disappeared, and it was just the parents that were on stage dancing. It wasn't their day. It was the students' day to celebrate it. But the parents got on there and they were so vibrant. But everyone else within the school had that sense of belonging. So for me, it was very comfortable for me to be in that school, because it was one of the places that I could be able to speak my language, and the person next to me could be able to understand, or would be able to relate to certain stories that were told. So it's very, very personal. That's the most thing. And I also want to be an ancestor at some point that people are proud of, or that they talk about in history books or something like that. So that's the main thing that keeps me going, is even when it's hard, you still want to be an ancestor. You still want to get at least your kids to understand what the culture is. Don't let it die out. Yeah,
it's very important to have an identity.
It's very important.
Yeah, thank you for that. Now, sorry for taking you back. If you could tell our viewers how the war affected you people, just like, I know, I'm sorry for taking you back, but please.
So, a lot of us do not have homes. Do not have homes because the original homes and the elders that were within those communities a lot of them actually died. There were people who were raised in the IDP camps. And even during the festive seasons, people are lucky enough to go to their homes during the festive seasons, but we couldn't do that. We couldn't just travel because you were captured along the journey, right? So a lot of culture was lost, but a lot of individual people were lost. I think I lost my grandma during COVID. And it was very unfortunate because we weren't able to sit down with her to really tell us a story about the clans, because that's how, the widowed clans would tell those stories to the kids during the holidays or during any sitting that they would be able to have. Those were the ones responsible for passing down the information. But we never ever had an opportunity to sit down with her and get her to really talk to us. My grandfather was a chief, but he didn't grow up in I would say the chiefdom. He wasn't able to grow up within that. His parents died when he was born, so immediately he was taken to study in Kenya. So when he got back, he had no understanding of where he belonged, right? So we generally had no sense of belonging from there. Yeah.
I understand.
Yeah. Osha, would you like to add anything?
I don't have so much experience with many Northerners, except, shout out to Sue Ochola.
Yeah.
She's a Choli, so I have experience with her, but more or less on the basis of her being from the UK as an Acholi and me being an American. That's our bond. Yeah, but from what I hear from most people is the Northerners are very bright, very straightforward. They don't f around. They tell you like how it is, which is definitely what I like. And I'm just so happy to me and Rachel went to the Indere Cultural Center. We were trying to find some inspiration for for this channel and then for the Pan African Dating Show, and people were complaining, saying, we didn't have enough culture. It was too mainstream. We wanted to Africanize it. And when I came across you and saw what you were doing, I was like, Black Jesus. Yeah, so I'm just so glad you came in and you've educated a lot of our audiences from the diaspora, so they don't know. And so we were so glad that you're able to come and express yourself and some of the things that have happened and the way that your community is rebounding. Anything else you want to say? Or
I would like to invite guys to come through for the Nilotic Connection event that we'll be having on the 4th. Those that are not around will try as much as 4th of March.
March 4th?
We'll try as much as possible to have a live so others can be able to interact with us on our social media platforms, from whether the diaspora or they're unable to come within that very particular day. So, but we do have a lot of culture that we'll be sharing with everyone else. You said you went to Nebi. I hope you were able to taste Nang Nang.
Yeah. The videographer behind the camera was eating everything. But what we liked was the pested meat. The pested meat.
We make the best odi, but do you know the process it
nothing
takes
beats
to
that.
make odi?
Nothing
It is
beats
crazy,
that.
but it's worth it.
You know what? I'll show up just to eat the food. And there's a sweet drink that Northerners have. What is it? Is it like tangerine? There's a sweet
Tangerine?
Yeah. Is it? It's a very sweet drink. It's like a juice. I don't know if it was alcohol, but no, what work? It wasn't alcohol.
But we do have kwete.
You know what?
We do have kwete, but it's not it's alcoholic. So
Will they drink it out of a pot with a straw?
No, that is malwa. That's malwa. Kwete, they take them in these in a calabash, sort of like a scoop thing that they do.
Will that be there?
It will be there.
I'm going to bring you a few people who drink for
Please
the team.
make sure you do.
But yeah, they can tell people where they can find you if they want to reach out to you.
So you can reach out to us on Nilotic Connection on all social media platforms. And personally, you can reach out to me on Twitter and actually all the social media platforms. I'm Achiro Toliver.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. Oshe, where can the people find you?
Just don't look for me here. But if you look for me on Instagram, it's O'Shea Duke Jackson on YouTube, things like that. So Pan African Dating Show, support us over there. We over there blowing up. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
We're gonna be rich in a minute. So
Yeah.
stop playing.
Yeah.
All right.
Also, please subscribe to this channel if you're just watching this and you've not yet subscribed. Please subscribe and follow us on all our social media platforms at Kenganda Nation. Also follow this baby right here. The Pan African Dating Show. We'll see you guys next time.